It's 8 o'clock. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Shall we pray? Our dear Heavenly Father, we're thankful, Lord, that we have Brimfield. And we're thankful for the residents and for the caring and the sharing that all of our people do. We just pray that you would bless this meeting. Let us remember the revised codes and what we are required to do, and that we put our residents first. Bless this day and keep us all safe in thy name. Amen.
Do we have any announcements or correspondence from the board members? Mike?
I had a long call. You know, we have that Lorraine issue over there.
Yes.
Because I mean, there's times when that water gets on the road and stuff like that. But I have them watching out because there's 3 properties back there. You guys are all aware how, from the farm, the water is flooding their backyards and everything. And I talked to the guy's name's Chad, and a very nice person. There's only so much we can do unless we can actually prove that it's all coming over our road. Which in the spring rains, but I think all of this ties in together. But the main problem with that property, you're aware what the farm I'm talking about. Yeah. Okay, well, is there are all these old field tiles. So it's not our fault, but the problem is these field tiles have all collapsed, and so the water's not draining. Now, I think there is some movement going on where the local business is going to go ahead and repair all this stuff to help them. But like Dave was saying, with that crossover pipe, not being completely cleared, I think once we get a new I think if we do get this new crossover pipe and the farmer works on it, I think it will alleviate a lot of it. So I have them watching. If they notice the water coming over the road, for them to call me, and I'll run out there and take pictures of it. But till then, I have not seen the water on the road because it's not our issue till it affects us.
Right.
So just so you're up to date, but I just wanted to let you know that it is the field tiles from all these years have started collapsing, not hooking, so the water is going nowhere, and that's why it's that huge spot. And I feel bad for these 3 people, but there's only so much we can do. So, okay, so that's where we are in that.
Okay. Sue, any correspondences or announcements?
No, I don't have any.
Anything from the department heads? All right. Then moving on to meeting guests. We first have Dan Morgani from Land Bank.
Yes.
The floor is yours, sir.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning.
Thanks for having me. Good to see you.
Is it Dan Morgan or?
Morganti.
Okay.
TI on the end of that.
Thanks for coming, Dan.
My name is Dan Morganti. I'm the new, still relatively new, I guess, executive director of the Portage County Land Bank. I started in that role last November, taking over for Neighborhood Development Services, who administered the land bank on a contract basis up until that point. I'll give you a brief background on the land bank. Basically, it's a standalone nonprofit 501c3 organization. Its affiliation with Portage County really is a name only. So there's a board of 7, and by statute, that board includes the county treasurer, Brad Cromes, 2 commissioners who are Kathleen Clyde and Vicki Klein, a representative from a township with the largest population, which is Sioux, here in Brimfield, and a representative from the municipality with the largest population, which is Bridget Susel in the city of Kent. Additionally, we have a board member who's a finance professional, Ina Sayer, Portage Community Bank, and a real estate professional, which is currently a vacant slot right now. So the land bank's mission is to facilitate the conversion of vacant, abandoned, and tax delinquent property back to productive use. When I think of that, it's kind of 2 things: physical use, so going from vacancy and abandonment to a situation where there's occupancy. And then secondly, from a tax-paying standpoint, going from a situation where there's tax delinquency, creating an ownership structure where it is, again, a tax-paying entity. So So our really goal is to reutilize property rather than hold it or bank it, despite what our name is. So the idea is to facilitate the reuse, get in the hands of property in the hands of someone who's going to use it and pay taxes. So our primary method of acquisition is through tax foreclosure. The land bank has a contract with county treasurer and the county prosecutor to pursue sites on our behalf. So basically, the main eligibility requirements for a site would be that it's vacant and abandoned, and even illegal tenancy count. So if nobody can get the site, it's got to be certified tax delinquent for a time period of 2 years, and there's got to be a plan in place for its reuse. You know, we need to know on the front end of pursuing a site that there's a plan and an end user lined up, or that the property is going to be marketable. So just as go quickly here, a quick background that it was created in 2012, beginning in 2013 is when the land bank first received funding, up until 2019. Its primary activity was in the area of blight elimination, residential demolition. It included a number of outside grants that came into Portage County for those purposes. And we're kind of at a point now, as those funds have now unfortunately dried up, where we're doing more focus on housing rehabilitation. So the land bank feels like it can really further its mission in that area. To this point, we've completed 4 what we call acquisition rehab resales, with one currently underway right now. So we do quality rehab work. We oversee the work, make sure it's done correctly, with the goal of reselling the property to low, moderate, or middle income owner-occupied household. Just real quick, since I've started, I've had a number of inquiries about commercial property. To this point, the land bank hasn't done commercial property, but I think the board would be open to considering sites where there's an end user in place. So kind of a hypothetical situation, if you have a commercial site that is tax delinquent and vacant, and an end user who wants the site, and really the only hurdle to getting it to them is obviously the site control and ownership piece. The land bank might be able to help with a development agreement on the front end to be able to get that site to someone who wants to use it for commercial purposes. So speaking about Brimfield specific, a couple years ago, the land bank demolished 1988 Old Forge Road in Brimfield. It was, I believe, kind of a crime house, from what I've heard. So that's
Squatters.
with squatters. Okay. And as of now, we have 2 sites or a couple sites on our radar. 2 will likely pursue this spring.
In Brimfield?
In Brimfield. Okay. Yep. So that site, 1988, the land still sits there, and it's still in the ownership of the prior owner. So our goal is to acquire that and bring it to sale on the open market for purchase for development opportunity, residential development opportunity. And then also it's 1517 Old Forge Road, which is a house. So the land bank would pursue that site with the intention of rehabbing the house, reselling it. And I spoke to our realtor.
That brick house? Old Forge?
I don't think it's brick.
It's abandoned?
It's abandoned. It has been for a number of years.
Right.
On the east side of 43 or the west side of 43?
It is on the east side, on the north side of Old Forge Road. In the front of there's a subdivision behind it.
Oh, yeah, it's an allotment.
Yeah, we're talking.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's front on Old Forge.
Yeah, we're talking about the same one.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
So you're going to rehab it?
Exactly. So the goal is to rehab it. Our realtor puts a selling range on that one around 100,000 or a little more. So that would be the idea with that property.
That'd be good.
Dan, can I ask you a question since we're on it?
Sure.
The old, I forget what property, who it was, Old Forge, that we demolished the house.
Mm-hmm.
But since they were behind on taxes, that's the only way we could have done it, right? How does he still own that property?
Right. So in that scenario, there are a few sites the land bank partnered with townships and municipalities just for the purposes of what we call a nuisance abatement demolition. So in that scenario, the township deemed the property a nuisance under 50586, and then the the land bank just used funds to demolish it. So in that scenario, the owner of the property maintained ownership of the site. That was end of 2016, I think. The land bank hadn't started acquiring property really to that point, I believe.
But if I let my house go to hell, but I'm paying my property taxes and doing all that, someone from the land bank could come in and deem that your house is a nuisance and I'm gonna rip your house down. I mean, is that pretty much what you're saying? Even though I'm paying my taxes on it and
With support from the jurisdiction it's in, yeah, if again, in the township, if the trustees deem it a nuisance and a site that should be demolished, and there's support from that, and the township side, the land bank may be able to assist with funding to demolish it.
so if the property taxes haven't been paid, they become the land bank's property, or does it become Brimfield Township's at that point after it's torn down?
So if it's delinquent for 2 years, the land bank can pursue it in tax foreclosure, and it could ultimately end up in the land bank.
Well, we have that one on 43, that old Dolphin Pool commercial spot that's been sitting out there. I'm sure no one's paid on that in years. It's collapsing.
Okay.
So I'm just wondering what happens to that land because that's the one that's on your list to be torn down.
Okay.
So I'm just wondering who gets that property at that point.
Yeah. So hopefully this is answering your question. So I'm thinking with
You're
that,
just hitting your thumb.
yeah, no problem. That's why I'm here. So with sites that need demolished, there are really two ways we can kind of approach it. And again, we have less money now to be able to demolish sites. We're trying to focus more on rehab because that's where we have funding now. But there are really two ways we can demolish a site. One, and the more preferable way, is to acquire it through tax foreclosure with the idea that the underlying land has value. So we would acquire it, demolish the site, and then hopefully sell the land to recoup the cost of the demolition. And so the requirements for that would need to be tax delinquent for a period of 2 years, vacant, Secondly, we have a little bit of funding set aside for nuisance abatement. So a nuisance abatement demolition would be, the trustees would deem it a nuisance, go through the whole process. The county prosecutor's office signs off on the process, and then the land bank could potentially have some funding to just carry out the demolition.
Does the land bank control it though, or does it Portage County control it at that point?
The land would, in that scenario, the same owner maintains ownership of the land.
Well, if they hadn't paid the taxes though. Because I'm thinking of the house, there's two houses that we have. One's on Congress Lake, who cares if they tear that down. The Dolphin Pools is right on 43 in a commercial lot, which could be worth a lot of money.
Sure.
And I'm just wondering who maintains ownership after that Dolphin Pool is ripped down and
Right.
right on 43. I mean, does that become Portage County's or the land bank?
The land bank. If we were to pursue it, and again, it would need to be, if it's delinquent, the land bank would obtain ownership of it.
And then sell it.
In demo scenario number one, and then sell it. And that's more ideal for us because we're able to recoup those demo costs. The nuisance abatement, we have a little bit of money set aside for it, and it's for the whole county. So, we try not to go that route as often. I guess.
Sorry for
Does that make sense?
Yeah, sorry for all that extra question.
No problem. No problem. So yeah, I do have those two: 4585 State Route 43 and 3156 Congress Lake. Sue and Mike had sent me last week, I guess it was. So I can take a look at some of the specifics on those and see if we can help. Sure.
All right. Well, thank you for your time today. I appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan.
The next meeting guest is Darlene Mettler with Brimfield Historical Society.
Yes, hello, I am Darlene Mettler from the Brimfield Historical Society. It's been brought to our attention that there has been a rumor that seems to be coming from the township level that the Brimfield Historical Society was bequeathed $1 million from Edgar McCormick. And I am here to tell you that never happened. I have the letter and the proof that 24 years ago, a group of families, gentlemen, people that started the Brimfield Historical Society, did fundraising and saved money and deposited $108,000 in Akron Community Foundation. That's how it started. It's grown and it's lost, just like anybody else's investments. We've grown with it, and we've lost with the market. So I'm just here to say that any rumor that comes out like that affects any organization in this community, whether it be the Historical Society, the community cupboard. If you tell one person that rumor, it spreads everywhere, and it affects.
Okay, you're talking about me. I talked to Edgar McCormick. Him and I sat down and we talked a lot, and he told me about all that money that he had put into that fund to take care of the Kelso house. Now, you're talking about how much the initial amount was. He's telling me how much has it grown to,
No.
and whether, I mean, he was an older gentleman, but he put that money in there for the house to sustain itself. My only thing is, I'm hearing you guys are down to $300,000, and believe me, I don't go looking for garbage on you. They come find me to tell me that there's issues with your historical society, because number one, I don't want this coming back on Brimfield where we have to bail you guys out. I mean, all I've asked, and I've asked constantly from different people, I want to see, are your books hidden? You will not let people.
They're transparent.
Well, I've asked for a copy. I think the Kelso House is an asset to Brimfield, but if it's not being managed right, and believe me, I'm not saying you're not managing it right, but if you get to a point where you have so little in your account, you're not going to generate the money you need to keep that account going. That's all I'm saying. And I mean, then I hear from you guys that, well, we're blaming this person because you put the arch up. I'm tired of all this blaming. I just want to make sure this Kelso house is here for years to come, and that's all it is. And maybe these rumors are because I've asked multiple people. I've asked Sue to get me the books, so let me know how much is left there. I mean, I just don't want this coming to us because it's been mismanaged. And I'm not saying you're mismanaging it, but
okay, but if people think that we had $1 million,
I'm not sure this was Edgar McCormick. He was an old man, and I'm telling you, he was a great man.
I've got the letter.
But that's probably the initial investment. So what did it grow to?
Okay, but
what was the highest point that grew to?
500 and some thousand.
Okay, so that's fine. That's fine, but I want to be absolutely sure that the Kelso house is not going to be boarded up because it wasn't managed right.
Well, but the rumors don't help by people, because then people think
they're not. I'm just telling you what Edgar McCormick told me, and so I mean, he's dead. Edgar was an amazing man, exactly. And without Edgar, I mean, all the drama that transpires in that Kelso house. I mean, I would donate those meals for the election days, but then you guys lost a whole group of supporters, and you know you did. I mean, John, you know all those people that no longer want anything to do with the Kelso house. I mean, you have a no-win situation.
I don't know where that came from.
Well, you know the group of people that will stop.
But if the community doesn't support us, then we don't make money.
Right, so, but I mean, it's also, your expenses cannot exceed your income.
I understand that.
So I hate to say it, I am a numbers person, being in the private business, I'm a numbers person. And I just know the reality. If you're only making 4% interest, I mean, the stock market is crashing.
Right.
Go look at your investments now. And if you're spending $120,000 and you're only making $40,000, you do the math. How many more years are you in business? So that's all I'm saying. I will no longer say $1 million, that's for sure. But I'm just telling you, when Edgar and I would sit down and talk, he's a great man.
Well, he may be a great man, but he didn't give us $1 million. So.
Well, he never said he gave it to you, but he said the whatever vehicle he had put it into had accelerated.
Not $1 million.
So, okay. So how much do you have left?
Probably $375,000.
Okay. And what kind of interest do you make on that in a year? Probably 6% if you're lucky.
Yes, if the market.
These will probably make a lot of money.
Well, 375. What are your expenses?
Approximately $50,000 a year.
Okay, well, that's good. I mean, just don't talk numbers with me because I'm crazy about numbers. I hate to,
Well, I don't want to talk numbers, but I do have a comment here. When I came here and moved here in 86 and 87, I would go to those election day dinners, and people were lined up through the sidewalk, and it was just
a great thing.
Just really, really good. But 20 years later, look how many of those old people have passed on.
Exactly.
And we're not getting endowments from people.
Right.
So that, that
I mean,
doesn't help when everybody,
it's a no-win
it's just like your
situation.
churches. The younger middle generation of parents have not brought their children up in church, so we have all these big churches and just old people in them.
Okay, so you guys are making roughly $19,000 a year in your investments, and you're paying $50,000 a year in expenses. You do the math.
Well, you have events though that you make money off of, right?
Right.
But they have a lot of events that they lose money. And I mean, we want the best for the Kelso House. I think everyone on this board wants the best. Don't give me those eyes. I'm just telling you. Do the math.
All right, let's move on.
No, I will not be on the board.
Let's move on.
Anything
Do
else?
you have anything else you want to say?
Thank you for your time today, Bill, coming in. Todd?
Yes.
You're next.
With Regional
Bring it
Branding.
on.
Well, I'm not bringing it on. It just seemed like with the last 2 meetings we were at, we had a little bit of confusion, so I want to clear up some of that confusion. And from what I understand is maybe I don't even need to present because I think things have been worked out so much. But I still want to get you excited about this. This is going to be a great plan for Brimfield. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to bring you what we did for Streetsboro just recently. This is from April of last year. So go to page 6. So one of the things about this, we did, and you can scroll up on that a little bit. So, whoops, not so fast. So basically, we start out the plan with why do you do a plan? We have all these different reasons to explain to you and your community why you want to do a plan. Then we talk about the data and analysis for the community. What I really want to show you guys is get to the maps, but I'm just walking you through this right now. So go to page. Yes, 15 minutes. So then we talk about we do the history of Brimfield, the background of Brimfield, all the data analysis of Brimfield. Provide that. You kind of know where you are before you can actually plan for the future. So we provide all that information. And then you go to page 22, and then we talk. And then we begin to start our chapters. We have like 8 different chapters we want to include in there, including the more current, the 5-year plan. I believe is one of the very primary things. But scroll through that if you want. So we do again by chapter. We show the data. We talk about. We have the survey results. We're going to be doing a survey, and we talk about all the things that are going on. And then at the end of the chapters, we talk about the goals and objectives and strategies. Next one, 73. So,
As part of this, not to interrupt your presentation, but as part of this, do you compare us to other townships in the state?
we can do that. We can do
There's some comparative analysis.
So
in
we
there.
can compare you to what probably makes the most sense is to compare you to Portage County, and we could do it to the state. We did that with Streetsboro. It's kind of interesting because originally we started out with Streetsboro. We compared them with Aurora, Hudson, because they're neighbors. They're both neighbors. Mm-hmm. Aurora, Hudson, and Kent, right? And they said you can compare us with Kent, but don't compare us with Aurora and Hudson. But we did do Portage County. Compared to Portage County, we compared them to the state of Ohio, and so we were able to do that with them. And we did a historical comparison to how did they change over the last 20 years. So we did that. So when we did their land use plan, we basically showed all their different land uses as they were. Now slowly scroll down these. So what we did with this is we had to show the whole thing, and then we talked about what was your standard rural residential district, and we just pulled everything out. So that's your rural residential areas, and then slide down. So you just look at what that was. And then you went down to another low density. So we just pulled those out. So you can see how they fit on your community all by themselves. And we did this as a static maps for Streetsboro. For you guys, we can do this as interactive maps, which we're going to get to. So you boom, 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 and you're going to have a ton of data. Unfortunately, these maps have no data behind them because they're in a book. These other maps we're going to give you are going to have they're interactive and there'll be a ton of data behind them. So Mike or anybody who wants to pull it, it's going to be attached to an Excel spreadsheet. So you can take those Excel numbers and you can play with those numbers however you want to organize them. So it's going to be kind of cool. 91 is the implementation. So we have, for the implementation of the Streetsboro plan, we have a bunch of stuff. That's probably one of the biggest things I heard here was that we don't want to plan this on the shelf. So keep scrolling down on that. There's a bunch of different ways to implement. I think we had like 11. I think we identified 11 different ways to implement their plan. One of the ways, if you keep going further, see, I got my assistant here. We didn't practice this before we got here, but she's doing great. I'm not picking on her. She probably feels like I'm picking on her, but I'm not. But there's a bunch of different ways to implement. But go to 104, I think. Is that that's economic development. Yeah, go to 104. So I just want to show you what we're talking about. So when we talk about, like, this is economic development for that. So we have these different categories, this P, C, A, E, D. Those are the people who are responsible for doing it. So when you guys see these plans, you might say, oh my gosh, we're Brimfield Township, we can't do all that. So go down to the next page and I'll show you what that means. Each one of those people, show that green box. So all of these acronyms, like, CA was C was the city council there. ED is economic development. PCRPC is planning. Like this one talks about small scale, agriculture stuff. P is their city planning. CA is their city attorney. PRD is the private developers and development. So we identify who your partners are in doing this. This isn't all on Brimfield to do. And one of the other things that scares people when we first show them a plan, they're like, oh my gosh, this is going to cost a fortune. But it's also a 20 to 30 year plan, so it's supposed to be doing incrementally over 20 to 30 years, and you're taking small bites of the elephant. You're not trying to eat the elephant in one bite. That's not possible, right?
Well, it's a test for us too when new ideas come up. Does it support this plan to get us where we want to go?
Exactly. And each objective, it should. I mean, this one doesn't, but it should. Like this one's small agricultural operation. What we should have in there is we should say we have 150 agricultural operations in Brimfield, and so when we do the update 5 or 10 years from now how many agriculture operations do we have? Do we have more? Do we have less? So you need to measure where you've been and where you've gotten to, and are you being successful? You got to test it to make sure you're actually accomplishing things. Because the worst thing you do is let it sit on a shelf. The second worst thing you do is not be accomplishing your goals. And that's the whole point of this, right?
So who does the updating? Do you do it as you go along, or is it something we'd have to pay again?
Well, we're going to talk about that in when we strategize. But I think you need to annually look at your goal, your 1 year goals, and see if you hit those. You need to have the forward thinking to see what we're still having our 5 year range, and then you keep trying to accomplish those things. But at the same time, when you're working on today's stuff, you need to be focused over here too. So really, I would kind of look at it as like we're here today, and we want to be here, someday in the future. And what you're doing is you're working on today, sitting here today, but you're going to slowly get to your goals, in a cost-effective, fiscally responsible way, and something that's the township can handle.
So there's future costs down the road.
Well, there's always costs on the road.
Does Portage County fund portion of your program, or are you out on your own? Of your business, your office, is it funded by Portage County at all, or do they kick into this project at all in any way, or is it just funded by your business and then our contributions? How is it funded?
Okay, we're going back to RPC again. Okay, so
whatever that is, I just want to.
So we're really weird, weird kind of organization. When I say that,
I just want to know if Portage County funded.
Yeah, just like they pay dues, just like you do. They pay more money than you guys do. Per person.
Just an annual fee like we pay.
Exactly.
They don't kick in when there's additional cost to have a plan put together.
No.
Even though it values their land goes up and they make more taxes on it, they don't contribute any of it to it.
I'm trying to think. The only thing that they really kicked into that was extra beyond it was the grant writer. They paid for a grant writer, and currently they just re-up.
Is that more than what we're paying for it? I mean, because they're going to make more money off this than we are in regards to business moving in and development and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so the idea of the idea of the plan isn't necessarily to make more money. The idea is to create a quality of life for your community that your residents want.
Sure, but we need to sustain
right, exactly. So. And the purpose of the plan is to stay vibrant. Is to either become vibrant or stay vibrant. You don't want to be stagnant. If you're stagnant, you're going to fall behind. That's just how that works.
Well, I understand all that. I guess I'm just
fall behind the other communities that are actually trying to improve themselves.
I'm still on the funding portion of it. I hate to be on that, but the more I've thought about it, and we've already got the funding set up, so we're not going to get away. But we're putting $21,000 towards it, and it's going to make our commercial areas possibly become better to get better, value to our land and all that. But then Portage County makes money off that as well because the value of the land goes up and the taxes and all that. But they don't contribute to any of that study, right? They don't contribute any dollars towards the cost of that.
Have you gone back to them and asked them?
No, hold on. So as I explained before, is the county is in the process of doing their own plan, right? Which would include all the Brimfield. But this would not, their plan would not be anywhere close to as specific as we're being with you. Not anywhere close. So it's really, when you look at the plans, we're patching together a bunch of quilts together with all the different plans that we have.
But we all live in the same community, but they have Portage County taxes.
So the main concept of the county's plan is really to get the bigger picture out there. What's the bigger picture for all our communities to do? And to let the rest of the world know, and this is, you know, talk about bringing in money and bringing in business, let the rest of the world know that Portage County cares, we have plans, we want to improve our community, we want to be a better place to live, work, and play, and that's the purpose of their plan. Your plan is being very specific, very much about
I don't want to sound bad, but I don't care about Wyndham and what their plans are. My job is Brimfield Township.
And that's part of the point is why the county needs one, is to, you know, because you're all your own silos, and when we talk about the parks plan I'm about to show you, you'll understand what that did and how successful that was. But yeah, I completely understand what you're saying. I think we need to be cost conscious, cost effective. You know, make sure that this isn't a burden to the township, but at the same time a benefit to your residents. I mean, that's really the bottom line. So when you see the next, you haven't seen the rest of this yet.
Right. So, I just don't know how many residents are even going to pay attention.
Oh, there you go. All right, thank you. You set that up. All right, so.
Well, I know, but I'm just worried now. You're saying that there's going to be yearly costs. I mean,
I didn't say anything about yearly.
No, he's saying that yearly we need to
But is that we need to or they need to? Is this something
Can I finish my sentence?
Yeah, go ahead.
We need to, like we did at the beginning of this year, remember, we sat down as a team, and we're gonna talk about this during the meeting today, we set 1-year goals. That's what he's alluding to, is that we as a team need to look at what this 50-year plan is, what we accomplished last year in our goals, what we're going to set as goals for this year to support the 5-year plan, which eventually supports the 50-year. So that's the work that we have to do behind the scenes, and we've started that vehicle, but we need stronger. Right now, we started that vehicle looking right here in front of us. We need this study to see what that 50-year, what you want to see Brimfield look like in 50 years, but more importantly, what everyone out here wants to see Brimfield look like.
Okay, well, we'll stop bothering you. You go ahead.
Well, and I get all that, Nick. That's not even my issue at all, and I agree with that. I guess I'm stuck, and I apologize. I'm stuck on that. We're paying for the whole thing. We're just going to pay anything for it, and they're going to make money off of it, just like we are in taxes.
Portage County is still paying their membership fees just like we are.
Well, I know, but we pay ours as well.
No, I know, but
how much do they pay?
They when you asked me last time, they said, how much is Portage County taking? And I told you what they pay as membership, $150. They pay $150,000 as membership. So without their contribution, we don't have a regional planning commission. So, you know, they actually support the fact that we're even here. I mean, what you guys all contribute all adds up to, you know,
it's like we're going in on a business partnership
with
someone, but one person's funding it all and the other one isn't. And they're going to make money off of when it succeeds.
Well,
that's kind of
I hear what you're saying, but this really isn't meant to benefit you more than the town. I mean, that's.
I totally get that. This is your plan and all the. I 100% agree that Brimfield Township needs a guide like that. I just don't like the way it's funded. That's all.
But you're gonna like the next. We haven't gotten there yet, but we're gonna get there after this. So one of the things we did with Streets and Roads, we did a citywide survey. We did that on the community's website. We put it at the county, the Streets Road Library. We had different ways. We went to a couple of events. We could go to Brimfest, for example, and set up tents and say, hey, we want to hear about your, you know. And usually what we do there is we have a map of Brimfield. We have them put a dot where they live or where they work, so we know they're actual residents or actual employees of the community. So that way we can weed out the ones who are just showing up at Brimfest and from Kent and I want to take the survey. So that's how we do it. This survey, you can only take it once per device, kind of thing. We just did one for Ravenna on their wayfinding concepts, and I'm going to do this at the county level. I'm going to do this at your level. And this might be a little more tricky since Suffield in the field school system, but we did it with Ravenna, and we had all the high school kids take a survey about their community. And it's funny because we had the same survey for the adults, and the 50 and overs were the exact opposite. They voted the exact opposite. Like we had 4 different kind of styles and designs for the downtown Ravenna area. And all the old 50-plus people like the historic look, kids like the contemporary, young, vibrant look. They wanted more green, whatever, and everybody else wanted more historic stuff. So I'm just saying it's important to get them involved. Now let's go to the bigger stuff. So let's go to the park. So what we did started 2 years ago is we had a parks collaboration plan that we worked on. So back to your silos thing, everybody, you know, park, and not to pretend case because she's still relatively new, but all the communities have their own parks, and the park district has their park, and everybody works. I only care about my parks, and I only care about my parks. But the reality of it is that there's a lot of opportunity there that's being lost. And what are those opportunities? For one thing, if you have, let's say 2 communities are want to do a ball field, you're right next door to each other, rather than one community pay for a whole ball field and another community
deal with Buffalo, why don't you work together and do that? Same is true for programming. Rather than everybody have their own programs, everybody else has their own programs, you're right next to each other, why don't you share programming? And that's shares costs. And then there's equipment. Why does everybody have to have, 5 mowers when, you could use, 6 and we only have 3 now for each side?
Everybody has a ladder truck in Portage County except us. I don't know why we need all those, but
you can the idea was to collaborate. But one of the other things that we want to do is something for the residents. So there's so many great parks. I mean, you guys have great parks. A lot of the other communities have great parks. So how do we let people in Portage County know about that? So we started this. We had a grant to do this project, and we basically made a spreadsheet of all the communities, of all their parks, and all the activities in the park, and we even did private sector recreation as well as that. So we're here in Brimfield. So why don't we click on Portage first? So when you click on Portage, this is all the parks and recreation in the county, including the dots of the private sector. Now, if you go to Brimfield, it just takes you to Brimfield. So those are the parks in Brimfield. And if you click on any of those parks, I don't know about the Modular Reserve, but
to the Cranberry Creek.
Cranberry Creek. So you click on that, it gives you the name of the park, the address, it tells you the activities, dog park, cross-country skiing, sledding, hiking. The amenity there is parking. You click on the more info, and that takes you to Brimfield's website, right to the Cranberry Creek website, and you can get more information there. So really, and really all that information, you guys still control it all, by doing it that way. But we can post a whole bunch of information in here. I mean, this spot's going to be filled with anything. So we'll talk about that in a second, how that impacts the plan here. We can do trails. You can click on this trail, it's the Buckeye Trail. And then segment tells you how long that trail is. It's 11.58 miles. So then you click out of that. If you wanted to see it, like if you go back to the Portage County thing here, on the left-hand side here, all the different activities there are. So what kind of activities do you guys like to do? Name an activity.
Sit on my easy boy.
Well, we don't have the easy boy.
How about hiking?
So you hit hiking, and that's where all the places where you can go hiking are in Portage County. If you hit golf, for example, if you like golf, those are the golf courses in Portage County. You can click on those, and they'll, again, tell you where it is, phone number, and their website. Do dance or something like that.
that's the next thing.
It's all John.
There's dance, then you do gym. So what happened was, when we did this parks map originally, we did a soft launch in Manaway Village, because we were doing the Burning River event in June. And so these people were looking at the parks map without a lot of this private stuff. Well, actually, this private stuff wasn't on there. Some of this private stuff wasn't on there. And so basically, this one lady came up to us and said, I have a coffee shop, I want to be on your map. Oh, this is a Parks and Rec map. I would have put a coffee shop on it. And then she went away, and 10 minutes later, another guy was in there playing around with it. And he says, I have a restaurant. I want to be on your map. And I'm like, but this is a parks map. So that's when our light bulb went off and said, hey, this is more than just a parks map. This is a lot of different things. It turned out to be a lot of different things. We started out with the chambers. I don't know if you have any of the chambers up. Do you have?
There's pickleball. I bet you we're the only one that has pickleball.
You want to see if we have pickleball? We can do that.
That was the thing that Keaton Smith made, right? Wasn't that what's called? Gaga ball. Where's Gaga ball at up there? Really don't know what has that.
There's one there and one in Ravenna.
Pickleball, I know that.
Well, we have laser tag on there too, which is kind of a unique thing. We have libraries and movie theaters on here as well. But what we did was we went to the chambers. Let's say, chambers, give us your membership directory, and we basically turned that all on, interactive. That's Streetsboro. Okay, and then same kind of concept. We can break it. That's everything. If you go to the side where it shows the individual kind. So that's everything that was shown. But if you click that off, and then you can pick, like, listen, I just need Chamber of Commerce, or not Chamber. I need banking or financing. So you click on that, and they pop up, and you can blow that up, and there's driving instructions on there and stuff like that.
Can you click on Brimfield's tab out there? Just from that perspective, that same one.
This one doesn't have tabs, not in the Chambers map, but,
I don't believe Brimfield Chambers is a member of this.
We're talking to the Visitors Bureau, though, and they want to be members.
Well, the Chambers also, I presented last week, so they have some interest in this.
Okay.
So we'll talk about plan.
And we did, okay, that's fine. We've already done Aurora, Streetsboro, and Ravenna, and we're working with Brimfield and working with Easttown. currently. We're also,
So it's a project, I mean, okay.
yeah, and then we're also, and how we're doing this, if you're wondering how, okay, so let's go back to the Parks and Rec one. So how we're doing the Parks and Rec one, it's really easy to maintain. So, once a year, we're gonna send Cassie, an Excel spreadsheet. She can, add any new amenities she wants to add. If she has a new park, she can click on the new amenities that are gonna go into that park. If something's gone, now she can, take that off, and then we'll rerun it, and now that's how it's gonna stay current from there. But it's gonna be no cost to our goal is no cost to the township or any of the townships. Our goal is to take all these private sector folks and have them pay a $25 annual fee for that, which is really cheap, and it's marketing. The other chambers, how they're gonna do it is they're gonna pay us $25, but they're gonna charge the members a total of $50 because they think $50 is a reasonable price for that. And so it's gonna be it's gonna be a funding resource for them, and it's gonna be a marketing opportunity as well for the members there. And then if you're not a member and you want to be on our map, that's fine, but we want to encourage people to be members, so we're going to charge a higher rate for the non-members to encourage them to be members.
Let me just ask this, and I don't mean to be a devil's advocate, but isn't this Google?
It's Google on steroids.
Well, so if I'm out there, John Dalzell, just looking to go play pickleball, I'm going to type it into Google. Is this going to pop up, or are we going to just be on the bottom of everybody's list and paying for a big thing?
That's a good comment, because one of the things is you have to pay to be on the top of the list. So from the chamber standpoint, how this works is everybody comes up equally. If you're no matter how small or big you are, you're going to come up equally. There's no special fee to pop up a little bit faster than anybody else. So you're going to be all shown at the same time. And now you, as a consumer, can say, well, I'm closer to this one than I am to that one. Why am I going to check that out? So this is also providing better awareness for those.
This goes in clicks, though. As soon as I click it, it'll move up to the top.
Well, what are you talking about?
Well, Google's based off of clicks.
Yes. So it's moved up, or you can pay a fee and go it that way. And there's no fee necessary to pay. You're paying $25. You don't pay anything in Google, I suppose, but at the same time, you only, $25 is enough to do. So.
And this is all the chamber members that are going to fund this, or any of the businesses?
We've discussed the chambers, and what we also discussed is we're not even in charge of them for 6 to 9 months, because we want the members and the public to be aware of it. We're actually meeting some of the chamber members the first part of March to make sure that, what they want is they want a name for this. They want to actually call it the chamber stuff. They want to give it a name, so the public, when we start marketing this to the public says, oh, I need to go, whatever the name's going to be, X, Y, Z, or whatever it is. I'm just making that up, but then they can go, and then we want to ultimately create an app, so you can click on that, and then all this stuff will come up. I'm looking for auto, poof, there are all the autos. I'm looking for financing, there's that. There's childcare, poof, there's childcare. But where's the restaurants at? Poof.
But more to the point of why we need to see this map for part of our plan is our plan will be tied in, just because we're running out of time here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So you're okay.
So, yes. So, okay, really quick. So, with this kind of a map, what I want to do with your plan is there's like 11 different maps we want to make interactive. And one of those is the final document will be, all the different things we want to do over the next 5 to 10 to 20, maybe 30 years. And you can show it by year. These are the projects we're doing in the next 5 years. It's going to tell you what it is, why you're doing it, how much it's going to cost, who's doing it. So the public will have this. This will no longer sit on the shelf. This will be made available to the public. Just like this, I think this is already on your website, right?
I don't think we've made it up there yet.
This is meant to be for the public to use on and we made it available to all the communities, because all the communities are on there. So that kind of information will be on there. We can show your land use information. We can show environmental features interactively, see where those things pop up. Bring that out more clearly. I think we had identified 11 different interactive maps that we wanted to do for you. We had zoning, we had vacant land that we do. We could take anything and do that. Capital improvement projects that you might have coming up. One of the things we were also working on with Ravenna and Manaway Township is a historic properties map. So all your historic properties, like let's say there's 30 in Manaway, there's 31 of those. So you could 31 historic properties. So on the side there, you can click on it. It'll show you where in Manaway that is. You open up and you give you a picture of the current structure and then a complete write-up of that. So who lived there, what business was there, and maybe an old-timey photo of one's available. But this is an interactive walking tour of the community that's going to be there forever. Really easy to maintain, really easy to update. It's going to be phenomenal because it's an educational tool for your young kids, it's education for the adults, and it's also an educational tool for your visitors. I'm here in Brimfield, and Williams that old house, Williams Lake House, and now they can just go and find it. It'll be really easy to do. So we're excited about that. There's a lot of internal facing stuff that we could do, like we could for police and fire, for example, this is the external facing stuff. Internal facing stuff could be, where are the incidents? Where are the fires? Where are the, calls going to? And you could track that over years and things like that.
So your goal with all of this is it's gonna make Brimfield Township property more valuable to developers to come in, or to help us figure out what we should move into this. I mean,
that could definitely be there could be a focus on that. But I think the real focus should be, or is it's an added value to your residents. It's just an added value to your residents.
John, part of this is as we do those districts and what our future plans are, the developers, when they first contact Mike, are going to be directed to our website. Here's our economic page. This map is part of that page. And then they can see what our 5 or 50-year plan is, our 5-year goals, and see what they're looking to
that doesn't have anything
invest.
to do with the Google search.
Right. No, he was just showing you how that system worked and how that's going to be converted into a piece that works for us.
Yeah. As far as the other thing, the Google finding businesses, I think that's something I work with the chamber with, not really the township. I mean, that information is available to the township. Maybe in another manner, I'm working with Wayne County's called and asked for all this stuff too now, and one of the things they want is site selection that you're talking about. So we're going to be working on that. And I think I was just talking with Brad Arter from the county Portage Development Board, and I said, I think, Brad, we should probably be thinking about this too, and how that works to help you out. But that's not the focus of the plan. The focus of the plan is really for you guys, not for anybody else, not future residents, but current residents. I mean, because it is for future residents too.
Yeah, because that's how we're directed.
Yeah.
Our growth.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions for him?
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you for that presentation.
Sure, thank you. Sorry.
We worked under pressure too. Let me give you a hard time.
It's okay. That's what I'm here for.
Next on our agenda are meeting minutes. We need a motion for.
I will make a motion that I've read the minutes and make a motion that we approve them.
Second.
Mike, motion for approval of minutes, John.
I'm sorry. From 2/12.
Yep. And Sue, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Agenda?
On the agenda, I'd like to make some comments about April 25th. I think we need a motion. There may be some expense involved with that. I don't think we have a motion to commemorate that day.
Yeah.
On that cleanup day, I need a motion on the books.
So under admin, number 1 is going to be, or number 2 will be April 25th cleanup. We'll do number 3. I'd like to add under admin, which will be recycling. And number 4 under admin will be goals. Is there any other additions to the goals? Goals. Department heads have any changes? So we need to add under executive session, number 1.
We just need to pull the unit after that.
Yeah. To discuss potential discipline.
This is fire department.
Admin of public employee.
Well, it's discipline of the public employee.
Any other additions? We need a motion.
I will make a motion for the amended agenda, include number 2, April 25th. Recycling, number 3, 4, number goals, under admin, executive session, number 1, discipline, potential discipline of an administrative employee, township employee.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Purchase orders.
I move we accept the purchase orders, everybody read them and signed them and approve them.
I will second that. All in favor?
Just while it's under discussion, there's one that we did not sign, so we're we're not approving them. How do we do that?
What purchase order is that?
The one with the tax?
Executive session portion? You're just approving all purchase orders that were presented, let's take that out.
Okay.
So you can still just approve the POs as presented, but you took that out, so.
Okay, oh, that's right, okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Warrants?
I'll make a motion that we do the warrants and sign them.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This brings us into our public comments and public questions section. Each public member, please state your name and address for the record, and you will be given 5 minutes to present on any topic that you would like to discuss.
Brian Ames, 2632 Brimfield Road. I heard some discussion about water draining off properties and collecting and causing a problem. I have recently become aware that there is a thing called a stormwater ticket that collects money that is supposed to deal with that problem. It's operated by the county engineer, a fellow named Jenkins out there. He's the person I'm talking to. And that sounds
What's
like,
his first name?
I don't know his first name right off the top, but there's a fellow named Jenkins out there. And it sounds like that money is intended to deal with that sort of problem.
Private property or?
It's charged on all properties, so you can go on the auditor's website and see that those properties are being charged that fee, which is for that purpose. So,
I'll make that call today.
yeah.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Any other public comments today?
Harold Carmody, 3770 Willowbrook Drive.
I'm sorry, what was your first name, or your name?
Thurl, Thurl, Carmody. So the other day, as my wife and I were walking our dog, the recycle truck came through right before we walked our dog, and we ended up with shattered glass throughout Willowbrook Drive and Tamarack Trail, which goes off Willowbrook. And we were in the process of picking up a lot of the shattered glass, but we ended up with more than we could handle by walking our dogs. So my wife went back to the house, called the recycling facility, and they just accepted a message, but they never called us back. She also called the township and reported that to the township office, and they said they were going to talk to Nick about that. But we feel that recycling, putting shattered glass all down through the road, especially where they picked up containers and put them into their vehicle, there was shattered glass by every container. It was more than we could handle. I just want to make sure the township was aware of that.
Do you remember what day was that?
Monday.
Monday?
Yep.
Okay. And that might have been because they knew I was coming in today. So, and that was on Willowbrook Drive?
Yes.
Is there still glass out on the road now?
I don't know, to tell you the truth. We haven't walked the dog the last day or so, but it was also on Tamarack Trail, more on Tamarack Trail than Willowbrook, but shattered glass, if you're walking your dog or whatever, could injure the dog's paws, or who knows what would end up in people's tires.
Well, no, I appreciate that update, and we'll have Dave, if you guys, your crew could drive by there sometime today and give me an update if there's still others out there.
Okay. We did pick up a lot of it, but like I said, there was a lot more there than we could pick up. Small shards up to probably a good inch in diameter.
Okay. Thank you for that. We'll follow up with that. Okay. Other public comments or questions? Okay. If not, we'll move on to safety concerns. Do we have any safety concerns? Okay. This will move us then into the business portion of our meeting for the department heads to give reports, and we'll start with the police department.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. A couple information items for the board before I get into a couple items that are going to require your approval this morning. Department recently partnered with Wired Blue. We made some updates to our department website. Kind of gave that a refresh. The appearance was kind of getting a lot dated, so we made a refresh to the layout and appearance on that site at brimfieldpolice.com, so you can get an opportunity to pull it up at your convenience, take a peek at that. Kind of tied in with that update to the website, We also have a resource for the department that's connected there. There's an app for the Brimfield Police Department. If you download the MyPD app from the Apple or Android store, you can download MyPD as an app, and there's a choice there to select the Brimfield Police Department. It's just another way for residents to connect with us. So the app is connected to the website update as well. I wanted to make the board aware we're going to be partnering with Kent State PD and Neomed PD. We're hosting an autism awareness training for first responders here in Portage County. That's going to be taking place actually tomorrow at Kent State University. And I enclosed the flyer with my report for you to take a look at that. But we are one of the host partners for that training workshop. We also have our Brimfield PD K-9 Dining to Donate coming up, and that's taking place on Tuesday, March 10th. And that will be once again at Applebee's. There's flyers available for that. We'll also have the flyer posted to our website and our social media feeds. So that day between 11 a.m. and 9 p.m., 15% of proceeds, if someone shows that flyer in person on their phone, 15% of proceeds will be donated back by Applebee's to our K-9 program. I have a couple items that require the board's approval this morning. The first item we're going to send up your way is the updated Kent State University mutual aid agreement with Brimfield Township. That's from the Kent State University side. There's no changes that have been made to that agreement. They simply need to update it every X number of years, so there's just a new date frame for that, and that'll be good for another 4-year period. So I need signatures from the board members on that document I can send back to Kent State University. And there's a spot for each of you to sign that.
So that isn't one of your motions that's out there, that's just a signature piece.
But it'll require a signature. I think there's going to be a resolution that's required to be noted on that document.
Yeah, there's a resolution.
Note a resolution on that.
So I'll make a motion to approve the updated Kent State University Emergency Police Services Mutual Aid Agreements.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I do have something. Did we skip the Brimfield Police Department communication contract?
That's next.
Is it out of order on your?
This is a mutual aid agreement. The next one's going to be a communications contract.
It's out of order on the agenda.
I'm sorry. I'm looking
No,
at my
that's,
monthly
that's
report.
okay. I'm sorry. That's all right. My bad.
So that was my bad. We're switching up.
I was trying to confuse you.
So here's this one.
I got another document I'm setting up for the board that's going to require signatures. This is our 2020 Communications Services contract with Kent State University. That's the same agreement we've had in place with Kent State each year for dispatch communication services. We get billed for that each year in April and October. That's just the updated document for 2020 that also requires a signature of the board members.
Is this the same cost as?
That's roughly the same cost. Usually there's a slight inflationary cost associated with that, but it's relatively the same.
So I'll make a motion to enter into an agreement for the 2020 communication service contract with Kent State University.
Second.
You should probably include the dollar amount.
I don't know that they've included a dollar amount in the document. I think they just, unless I saw that on maybe on page
Yeah, no,
3.
that on
They
page
did?
3, yeah.
Okay. That's the full amount. It's billed twice and 2 payments, April and October each year.
Just so it's on the minutes. What is that
In
amount?
an amount of $68,531.
That's 2 payments.
Is that's annual amount right there. Right?
I think they bill us that twice, April and October.
So
each year.
it's actually 100
Per
No,
year.
the total 60 is something.
Okay, so that's the annual amount.
Yeah.
Okay.
That figure will be cut.
Then we increased it by a few percent?
Yeah, I'd have to pull up the other figure, Mike, but it's relatively close.
Okay. Are you satisfied with them?
I am.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we did receive an invoice from Kent State for our records management payment that's coming up due for them. That's going to be due by April 1st in the amount of $16,951. There's a one-time increase in this payment of $3,035. That accounts for the purchase of an additional records module that our department, along with Kent State PD, and Portage County Sheriff's Office share the cost of. Usually that cost the split payment is usually around $13,000 some change. But again, that additional $3 is just to account for the purchase of a new record module this year. It's a one-time cost. But I do need board approval to process this PO in the amount of $16,951.
I'll make a motion to approve the payment of $16,951 for the records management to Kent State University Police Services.
Yeah, I'll second that. for discussion?
So this would just be a one-time payment for that module?
Yeah, that one module, is a new demographics profiling module that each department shared the cost of, so our one quote share of that was $3,000, it was just a one-time cost.
So then our next payment will be.
Down to 13 change.
Any other questions from the board? All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Chief, can you just get me a copy of that back?
Sure.
When it's signed with the other?
With Kansas? Yeah, sure. I can do that. The final item I need board approval on is just a process of purchase order that's in the amount of $3,995. That's payable to ID Networks. That's our annual maintenance fee for our live scan fingerprinting system. It's an annual cost that I bring to the board each year, but I just need to bring it to you for approval due to the dollar amount. So it's $3,995 payable to ID Networks for annual maintenance on our live scan.
I'll make a motion to approve the payment of $3,995 to ID Networks.
Second. I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's all I have at this time. Unless you have any questions.
On the new PD app for the phones, do you have some information that you could possibly share with Rochelle so we can put it on our page too? Just because sometimes they only visit our page, not your page, or vice versa.
Yeah, I'll send it over to her, and I'll also send her a link. There's also a page on our website that kind of explains it well, so I can send it over to her today.
Okay, perfect.
You got it.
Anything from anybody else?
I just have a quick observation, and this, we don't have to act on it, but if I was somebody in the public and I saw an agenda like this, why are we wasting paper to even give it to them? You're the only one who did it right. Your stuff's on there. But here, there's nothing, it just says reports. I mean, so why are we even passing these papers out? I really think whoever puts these together needs to spell it out, because I mean, I know we know, but don't you think it's fair that the public knows what they're,
Well, I think what
you know what I mean? I just think we should do them the way we used to.
I think what Chief put on there is just action items. There was no action item. There's no action under
But
fire.
I don't want us to be like the county. I want to know what I want these people to know what we're going to talk about. I mean, that's, you know, just my thoughts. Okay. Should have had no meetings this morning.
Fire department.
Okay, just a couple updates and a couple things to talk about. Fire station update. I do have a meeting with the USDA regarding loans next Friday. They're going to come up and meet with us, take a look at the fire station, take a look at the admin building, say yes you can or no you can't, and we will loan you or we won't loan you. We've worked with the USDA for loans on the police department, vehicles. I think we're very happy with them, and with others, talking to other departments, if you can get a USDA loan, if it goes that way, that's the way you want it. John, do you have any input on USDA?
We've just had experience, 3 of us on the board here with the USDA, and they've been great. So I know that was before your time, but it was great to have them as a buffer. It was great to have complaints funnel through them where we didn't have to deal with contractors, and the financing was very, very fair. So I'm all for talking to you.
And let me say, this is just a step in my education. I'm not saying that's what we're going with. It's just a meeting.
Yeah.
So just want to keep you informed on that. I also am bringing forward a recommendation for an architectural firm, which would be Moody Nolan. I'm not set in stone that that's who we're going with, but I want to allow them to know that we want to pursue further with them and see where that goes. I don't think I need a resolution or anything. I'm just bringing forward who I've talked to. I have talked to other firms, and through scoring and speaking and interviewing, that's who we feel most comfortable with.
Where are they out of?
They're out of Columbus. To be honest with you, what made me feel most comfortable with them is they have built Southfield, Redstown, and Kent fire stations. So I have good references from township trustees and fire chiefs of very close surrounding areas that say this is a good group.
And we did put
that helped me with narrowing down that decision.
And the RFQ went out, and we had multiple applicants, and then you scored those and interviewed based upon that.
Right. Right. Like I said, I don't think I need anything more than that. I just want to let you know that that's who I'm going to pursue. Make a phone call, see what the next step is at their cost. I still say that I'm going to get away with that as far as I can. So we'll see where that goes. Okay. Really, that's the only thing for the fire department. I have a couple things going into administration, if I can just keep going with that. So something that's come to light with the coronavirus. It's hot and heavy out there. It is not going away. It's actually getting worse. You do your research. It's a respiratory flu-like symptoms, spread through cough, just like a cold. We're the first people are gonna be called when someone has those symptoms, along with the PD and the government entity by itself. Portage County, I've had sit-down talks with them. They have plans in place. If you go back to the coronavirus itself, there is no cure. So there's nothing they can do right now. But what they put in place is what is called a POD, for short, point of dispensing. And what they want to allow us to do, we need to sign a memorandum of understanding, is they would use our facility here as a site to distribute vaccinations for not just necessarily coronavirus if they get it, but other things. They would do two different ways of doing that. They would do an open point of dispensing and a closed point of dispensing, depending on what it is. Closed meaning they take care of the township employees first to help take care of the public. Open would mean it would be open to the public, depending on what they would give. It's no cost to us. It just has to have a memorandum of understanding through Brimfield Township and Portage County Health Department saying we agree that we'll take your help.
But they would take the safety forces first, because you guys are,
right,
from the police to the fire to the road department.
Yes, if they would vaccinate us first, knowing that we have to go out to the public, and then if vaccination is large enough to dispense to the public, they would do it for everything. So
wouldn't we be better off using the community center simply because we're inviting people that have a virus to come into our safety forces, and it's like bringing the virus in? Why not bring it down there where you don't?
Sure, I don't know if they've necessarily.
You're not allowed to go down there.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk about that if it comes to that point.
I think it's an agreement just between the township's going to give them a point of distribution.
Right, but I was just thinking that would be the community center more than this.
Right. So those are the benefits of what they're trying to do. So if we're all in agreement, I'd like that signed. But piggybacking onto that, it's kind of scary time right now because I've been trying to get N95 masks. So when we go out if we get called for the flu, I want the guys wearing masks. Can't get them. I can't find a cheap one, an expensive one. Call the hospitals. They don't have them. They're out. And I think they're from China. So probably why you can't get them, but it's something that is scary because we're going to need them.
But that report I was reading this morning says how they're really concerned about the U.S. having drugs, right, because China is just sucking them all down.
Right. In my stocks.
Buy more now.
So, all right. So you're going to continue looking into getting masks as best as we can.
Yeah, they're going to provide me. So what happens is if they deem it a certain level of threat, the state has a plethora of masks, but they won't give those out until it's deemed that. So there is protection out there. I can't get it right now. I can't find it on Amazon. I can't find it anywhere. So,
like I said, you can't get any of those supplies on Patriot Supply or anything. There's
in the county,
2 months.
In the county, even though we operate under med control, I don't blame them for this. They're saying, hey, we're keeping them for the hospitals. So they're not giving them away.
As this whole thing evolves, I mean, I'm telling you, we might have to have a work session with someone from the health department. I mean, because I'm worried about you guys. I'm worried about, I mean, in China, they're doing meetings, like I was telling you, over telephones. I mean, there's a point where, I mean, as we want to be as transparent as we can, but
Well, I'll be honest with you. I thought it was going to stay there, and now it seems to be getting worse daily. So we need to be prepared.
Well, they did send over a vaccine to start human trials in June.
Yeah. So anyways, that's if you guys are in agreement with that, I just need to.
Well, then we need to. Well, first I need to make a motion to amend the agenda so that we can do a memorandum of understanding. So a motion to amend the agenda under admin number 5, memorandum of understanding with health district.
I will second that.
Hang on, and then I also want to add number 6, notification of public. Another talking point.
Oh,
Okay, well, let's do them one at a time.
Yeah. Well, these are agenda
Okay.
amendments.
I was
We
gonna
need to-
piggyback into
Okay.
that one.
7.
Okay. 7 is regional planning
Right.
contract.
And you don't have to sign this? here?
Hang on, let's finish this motion first.
Okay, I'd like to make that motion.
We need a second. This is just to amend.
I second
Oh,
it.
Mike,
You might
second.
second it? Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and then
So number 5 was.
memorandum of understanding.
The health department?
Yeah. Number 6 was notification of public. So we'll have to come back to this in a minute.
Okay, I just wanna say one more point, before we get to that.
And then 7.
Regional planning.
All those in favor, you can approve it?
Yeah, we approve it.
Yes. We have a vote?
Yeah, we
Okay.
voted already. Yeah.
We already voted on that.
Back to this?
Yeah, if you want to finish with your comment.
Okay, I don't need this signed by the trustees, this is actually signed by me and Roy.
Okay.
And Roy's name's, I'm sorry, I
No, you're
didn't notify you, they want the police and the fire chief to be the points of contact.
Okay.
That's what they requested, I actually don't know your signature, you're just on it.
Okay.
So just so
I'll
we,
send this into the county.
just so we stay in order, we'll come back to that for a vote. So that brings us to point number 2, which is the April 25th cleanup. Sue, that was your.
Okay, April the 24th is the second annual Sioux Fields Cleanup Day. I would like to make a motion that we set that date as April the 25th and have a motion on the book. I don't know, there may be some expenses involved with that, I just want to make sure that we have a motion on the book.
Well, what are we calling it? I call it
Well,
the
last
Sioux
year it
Fields
was
Cleanup Day,
the
right?
Sioux Fields Cleanup Day, it's on the poster.
Should probably just be the Brimfield Township cleanup hosted by Sioux Fields, or, I don't
Well,
know.
but if she's hosting it, then that, I mean, that's,
Yeah,
I'm
as
gonna
soon as you're,
be
you're
there
assuming
all
cost.
day.
And John just had a question, so.
It just, alright,
It's the second annual.
well, I get that, I just, right, it's just, it's the fact that it's the Sioux Fields fiscal, or cleanup day. It's a Brimfield Township cleanup day, I mean, it's not being held.
Well,
at your
it
house.
I mean, is there any,
But-
well, let's make a motion in the positive so we can second it and discuss it.
Right.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion in the positive that
Sue made the motion,
Sue made the motion,
so we need a
and
second.
I'll second it.
Right.
Okay, now we can discussion.
What was your motion though, Sue? What was
The
moved to-
second annual Sioux Fields Cleanup Day for the community for Brimfield.
we're
We had it
scheduling
last year and that's
or-
what we
Yeah,
called it.
scheduling it for April 25th.
Okay,
April 25th this year.
not that it's second, but now if I hear that, I'm gonna think that Sioux Fields, I mean, is there any money being spent by the township?
Yes,
So it technically, I mean, if you say Sioux Fields or I say Mike's Place, that means Mike's Place is paying the money to do, but any extra expenses. But if it's, I mean, you know what, if I'm sitting out there and I hear Sioux Fields, I'm gonna think, well, that's not the township, this is something Sioux Fields is doing, you know what I mean? I'm not
Well,
trying to,
originally it was my original idea for the township to do this. We've never done it ever.
right.
So that's why we did it
I'm
last
not
year.
taking it away from you, I'm just saying, if
Yeah, you are.
the township's paying something for it, Brimfield should be somewhere in that title.
Well, I did get a scrapyard to donate a huge dumpster.
well, if you get
Or-
Kimball to donate the
If you get Kimball
recycling,
to
if you
dump it,
get them to do that, then we wouldn't pay.
because
them.
last year we
Right
paid
now,
Kimball
we're paying for the Kimball thing, Brimfield
Yeah.
Township is.
We also have road crew that assists at some point,
and the
right?
road crew.
Those
yeah,
are all
road
tax dollars. I think that's the concern, that there's
Yeah,
tax
it's all
dollars.
tax. So you have to take my name off of there?
So we're just calling it, to call it the Brimfield Township Cleanup Day on April 25th.
That's. not that I
Or the
haven't voted
Brimfield
on it, but
Township,
that's what
Sioux Field, I don't know, you know, I see what, I don't know.
Let's just put it hosted by, like you guys said a minute ago, hosted by.
Well, I'll put hosted by Sioux Fields. I'll be there the whole day.
Yeah, I mean, that works for me.
So, do you want me to change that motion
So
that's
we
on the
need an
floor for
amendment.
that, or how do you want me
Mike,
to
you
do
need
it?
to make a motion of an amendment if you want to
I'm
change it.
gonna make a motion to amend the name of the event to the Brimfield Township.
Let's go, second annual
Recycle.
Brimfield Township
Recycle
Recycling
Day
Day
hosted
hosted by Sioux
Sioux
Field.
Fields.
And I'll have Rochelle change the poster.
I'll second that amendment. Okay, any further discussions?
I think it's a great idea. Well, I just don't want the next thing to be the blue drop-off service hosted by Mike Kostensky. I mean, it just.
Right, it's just supposed to be what's best for the community. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Where's the 24th?
Number 3, recycling. I just want to give the board an update. The rumor is that the county commissioners had a meeting yesterday, a public hearing to discuss recycling. I've reached out to Commissioner Bennett. She did not answer. She called me back later, and then I was in another meeting, so we haven't been able to connect. She actually called this morning at 8:30 during the meeting. So I've not gotten the official word of what's happening. So as soon as we have information, we're going to get that out to the public of what the county's plan is. We're hearing rumors that it's going to be a mandatory program to the county, is what they're going to move forward with.
For all the townships that do not have contracts.
Correct.
And they're gonna honor all the contracts that are already out there.
Correct.
And there's gonna be four public hearings. You know, I got this from Sabrina yesterday.
Okay.
So that's what they're at. I mean, I just heard it from her, so.
Right. Yeah, so I'm waiting to get the official wording.
I mean, Ryan was at the meeting, so.
Yeah, that is what it's gonna be. There's gonna be 4 public hearings. They're going to have a standard rate structure for the entire county. And that'll be presented at the 4 public hearings, and that's the way it's going to go. They're going to be one day after the other, 4 days straight. And
It's gonna be up in the county?
I don't think so. They did not say where they were going to hold them, but I think they're going to try to find a venue that'll hold a lot of people because the whole county is affected by it. So they need to have capacity for the whole county.
I think that's a positive. It's their program. They should implement this.
Well, and that's the message we've been trying to give to the public is that this should not have been a township program. It's a county mandate. The county's mandated by the EPA. They tried to drive that through the townships. It was not our intention to stop recycling, but it was our intention to make sure that A, you were represented well, B, that we were getting a fair program out there, and C, most importantly, that we weren't breaking the law. Because there's concerns about the legality of the contracts between townships and county. We cannot get a clear answer from the county prosecutor either as if that is a legal contract or not. The answer is kind of response right now. So we don't want to obviously do anything that's illegal, and it's the county's problem. So that's why we've kind of pushed the piece to them. Any questions to the township about your recycling services? We're directing over to the county because they're driving that vehicle now. They're deciding when they're going to pick up and when they're not going to pick up. They're deciding how often they're going to do that because we have no influence in that decision. That is a decision by them. But as more information comes available, we might even have to have a special meeting depending on how that mandation is worded. Obviously, the council will look at that to make sure that we're represented correctly.
But have you heard that they're telling people when they call the recycle center to call the township?
Yes, that is a misnomer that's out there. I've had 3 residents now call when they talk to the county. The county recycling center has told them that the township agreed to send out notifications, both in written form, Facebook, and phone calls to the residents about the changes. That was never presented to us. We've never had that discussion. It's misinformation on their side, but this isn't the first time we had misinformation.
Well, why would we do that? If Kimball changes their recycling day, are we supposed to send a notification out to everybody in town that they're
right? They're
we put
passing
things
the buck
out
right
there
now.
on Nixle or Facebook just to be helpful, but it's really not our official duty to let everybody know it. If it was our program, I would 100% agree that we had to do it.
Right.
But we have made an effort. Sure.
Right. We've done a lot of updates as this goes on, but we have another piece we're going to talk about in a little bit of how we can be even better at this.
Okay.
So that's the update on recycling. Number 4, goals. I'm going to send this out to the department heads. We had our strategic planning meeting back in December. We set our 1-year goals. Remember, we went through the whole PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to email that out to everybody because we are 2 months into the year now. So our next March meeting, I would like to see the department heads just give an update of where they are and their progress with those goals. Because we do have some deadlines that are coming up also.
Nick, what was the March date, just to refresh?
No, not our strategic planning meeting. This is just our normal trustee meeting. We're gonna give an update.
Well, and even to add on to the end of that, Nick, I think that's good to do it at that time, because prior to that, they wouldn't know what their budget amounts were for the calendar year of
Right.
2020. So now they all do, so now they can put their goals together a little bit better. So I think it's a better time for them to.
They still have the goals, but they can give us a progress report now.
Exactly.
Now that we have some budget dollars to work with. Yeah. So that will be coming out to everybody. Number 5 is memorandum of understanding with Health District. So I'd like to make a motion that we enter into a memorandum of understanding with Portage County Health District to become a point of distribution.
I will second that.
Comments?
Very
Questions?
important.
Roy, I know you're just kind of getting looped in on this. Are you comfortable with us entering into this agreement?
Do we want to just say that we're doing that, or we want to pick a location? Where would we do it?
I think we just say that we're in a memorandum of understanding, because depending on the event, it may become fluid. We may have to move things around.
And I mean, they're gonna work to.
Yeah, and I think Roy and Craig will make that decision of where we're going to distribute from when that situation occurs. All right. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Roy, do you have any masks?
We do.
All right, this brings us into notification of public, number 6.
Except for the mailers.
Yeah, the mailers that we talked about.
I just wanted to have a quick discussion with, we could piggyback this on everything, recycling, coronavirus, Facebook posts if we're not being notified. Would the board allow me to pursue a possible postcard mailer to all township residents to see what the cost would be to get something out there, not necessarily individualized toward recycling, for example, but get everybody something in hand to sign up for Nixle. So, and some other things that we come up with to get everybody more involved.
I'll make a motion, the positive, that will allow you to go out there and start getting some prices.
I don't know how much that.
I will second that. So I did an initial price search on this. Postcard mailings are about 35 cents. A mailer. If you went through Vistaprint, if you wanted to get the mailing costs done and the printing of it, you're looking around $2,000, $2,500.
Yeah, I mean, Vistaprint's amazing.
And here's the thing: is we want to get as much information out to the public as we can, but it's just not cost effective to send you a letter today to say, here's what's happening with recycling, and in 3 weeks from now the county changes it. I got to mail another letter to you. It becomes very expensive for us. But we have really good notification systems, and so the idea behind the postcard is to tell people about Nixle and about our newsletter. Give them the opportunity of how to sign up online for that, but also to give them the route of, hey, I don't understand computers, I can't do this. Okay, then you come down here and Rochelle would lead that and walk them through and get them enrolled in the program before they left.
Right.
So we'd make this as simple as possible. Now, future notifications don't cost us anything, right? Because now we're just sending it out through Nixle.
Right. It's a good plan. I mean, the thing, the federal government, this morning I was reading, they're telling everyone that we need to start preparing. I mean, we need to put something together to tell people how they're supposed to start preparing. I mean, they're going to be, I'm telling you, you're going to be ground zero. If something happens, they're coming to you or the fire department or the police department.
Well, and that's where this vehicle becomes important, because we get them on the Nixle system, which is just for those emergency or really important updates. Then the newsletter becomes more powerful because we have more people subscribing to it. And that article comes out from Mike or from Roy or from Craig of, here's how you prepare for this, or here's what's happening.
So we're just doing a basic we're not going to try to fill it with information. We're doing a basic so we can at least get it out there, because we need to do this quickly.
Right. Here's your avenues of information.
Yeah, we just want to get them involved.
Yeah, it's not to communicate everything on the flyer. It's just say, hey, sign up for Nixle. This is how you do it.
Yeah, and if you can't do it, come up to the town hall. We will take care of it.
And I think I saw this. You're always going to get these people, so let me say that. But recycling. Well, we don't do that. We don't have internet.
My mom's 83 and she's on the internet all the time. So that's
no, but I'll throw the opposite. My grandparents are not.
Well, and my sister's not on the internet at all, and she's 55 years old.
But
so
what
really
we paid for
age.
through Nixle was the opportunity that it will come to that land.
Okay.
And this is our ability to be responsive to those.
No, I think that's the perfect
that.
thing. We should do that. Like, no one can complain that we didn't give them the opportunity to get involved.
Right. We just mail one to every house address that is here in Brimfield Township.
So you did get
I ran a rough estimate. So 4,500 mailers, we're looking around $2,500 roughly.
So did we make a motion for $3,000 and get it started?
Well, I want it under discussion, and if you guys like it.
We're gonna
Yeah, I
make a
think
motion
that-
just to let them get prices. Do we
Yeah.
wanna make
Well, I
another
think-
one
I think we
I
just
would think
amend
we
the
just-
motion and just start it. We need to start it. I mean, time is,
The sooner we get the information out, the
Yeah.
better. I think it's a good project for Rochelle to work on. She
Yeah.
can design the flyer and
and make it attractive, so, you know, because weather notices, I mean, people love that code red.
Right.
So, I mean, it's very important. We gotta be able to get in touch with these people.
Well, we
But
have
it's
the
like-
vehicle, and if we get maybe 10,000 more people on it, great. I mean, that's important.
So what's the dollar?
So I'm going to make to amend the
I
motion,
just got two of them already. We'll just make a second.
okay, to not exceed 3,500?
And of course, I'm gonna go as cheap as possible.
Oh, that Vista print's great.
So we'll just have to pursue it. But I think the sooner the
Need
better.
another second then?
I'll second that. I think it's a great project.
I think it's a great idea.
It's,
Do you wanna work together on that then?
yeah, I mean, mainly, I would just wanna see Rochelle design it.
I mean, just as far as, hey, what direction we wanna send them, Nixon,
Yeah.
website, Facebook.
So if she gets it done this week, I mean,
Three we have, right?
you can approve it so we can get it
Three
going.
we have, right?
Yeah, he's
Just
gonna make a
ideas of
decision
anything
on it.
else.
Okay,
We're just gonna let him run the project, so we'll get him on as soon as he can.
Yeah, so that needs to go on the top of the list, because
Are working.
But let's go through 3 layers. Let's have Rochelle build it, you review it, then I review it, just to make sure there's no errors in it, since we're doing a mass together.
that's good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. This is gonna take us down to number 7, the regional planning contract. So we had tabled this for the past 2 meetings. We talked about doing this land use plan. The land use plan was brought to us also by the zoning commission, correct, Mike?
Yes.
So zoning commission had made a recommendation that we go forward with the land use plan too during their meeting. We've had an opportunity to see a full presentation on it now. We've also had an opportunity to talk with Todd on the side if you needed to, or to explore other options. So I'd like to make a motion that we accept the land use plan contract with Portage County Regional Planning.
Second.
All right, so discussion.
And I put an amount out there for 22,000. I believe it was 21,000 and change.
Okay.
So there's a line value or line item out there of $22,000 for regional planning. So it's out there. So we just need to write the purchase order now. So that's what we're going to do with this.
So, and I just want to say that I get it that, you know, we pay for these plans, we pay for these plans, or these studies, and nothing happens with them often. Big difference between a study and a plan is the study allows us to study a project to see if, you know, you pay the $15,000, $20,000, is this $2 million plan going to work? We study that. If it doesn't, we're out $15,000 compared to $2 million when it fails. A plan is different, where now we're paying for action items of how we're actually going to execute the growth and the betterment of Brimfield Township. And I think the most important part is this, is we're gonna grab stakeholder feedback from all the residents. And this is gonna help the police department, the fire department, the zoning department, the road department, identify what we need to focus in on, because we get stakeholder support. I will say, when I talked at the Brimfield Chamber of Commerce, there was a lot of support from the business entities that were at that meeting, that they want to be part of that stakeholder conversation too. They're actually kind of excited for an opportunity to do this. So I think this is a great opportunity for us to get good feedback.
Craig, can you send a purchase order in? Because it's a zoning item. Can you send a purchase order in for it?
Well, we have to get a vote on it.
Oh, I already did.
No, we had a
My
motion
bad.
in a second.
My bad.
Any other comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Motion passes.
Craig, can you get a purchase order over to me?
Yeah, what do you want it for 22, or you want the exact
Just
amount?
up to 22,000 is fine.
What is the exact?
21 and something. Time was
Mike
the
has
exact amount.
It's 21 something. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, that's gonna take us into zoning and economic development report.
Thanks, Nick. So Brian Holmes has sold 20 homes in Cranberry Creek. I signed the plat a couple months ago. It's not recorded yet, as they were waiting for monies in escrow for the pump station. So that won't happen till March, but I have Ryan Holmes dropping off all of the 20 homes this week. And it's really, from our standpoint, the zoning is done, the plat is signed. So if it sits on the county shelf for 40 days until they do it. I'm just processing everything now. But we're good to go. I don't want to keep these homeowners that just bought in a Brimfield hostage on this, so I want to make sure this goes smoothly. Met with a large manufacturing business yesterday. We're looking to relocate either the Brimfield Crossings or Maple Crest. This particular business fits Maple Crest a little bit more because it's permitted use and I can sign off on it that day. The other request for the Brimfield Crossings wouldn't be that way. We'd have to go to the BZA. It's a good company, either location. I'd be happy with this company coming in. A little over $4 million in payroll. And I think they had quite an interest. It was between us and Akron, so I think we can close the deal on this one. So,
When would they be doing it?
this summer, they'd start construction. They want to move fast. And 150,000 square foot building right away with the potential of another 150,000.
It's a big building.
Walden Engineering submitted an application for Walden Phase 2. That was in 2008, that whole area, it just stopped, the phase didn't go in, and developers are going ahead with it now. Hartman Engineering has submitted development for Overlook in Pleasant Lakes. John, this is the one behind your house. I have officially turned it down. They have to go for variances on it. I believe Ron Goodspeed and yourself looked at it for the separation of houses. They're coming pretty close. The smallest we have right now is Cranberry Creek at 20-foot building separation. It came in at 15, so I wanted fire to take a look at this because there are some concerns there. And then again, we have a BZA meeting coming up with this, which will be in March. And that BZA meeting is March 18th at 7 o'clock. Zoning Commission will be March 12th at 7 o'clock as well. Thank you for the comprehensive land use plan. Zoning Commission, heard Todd several times, went over this, the same scenario as here. They voted to go ahead and do it. It was 1988 since the last time the land use plan was done. So it's been a while. And then today I'm meeting with the prosecutor this afternoon. I'm going over all the violations we have, try to get hard dates, when we're going to get court dates, search warrants, things of that nature. So I'll be spending the afternoon. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. One question for zoning. Are we close to getting that Jed map?
I sent it to you.
Okay, I didn't see it in my box. Okay, we'll talk after the meeting.
Yeah, you asked me the one day when I got back.
Right.
And then I sent it the next morning.
But then there was another email to Todd saying that we can update it.
Yeah, he's updating that. So as soon as I have not received any new.
So we're just waiting for him.
Yeah.
I just want to have the most updated one.
I just have the old maps, right?
Okay. That'll move us into road department.
Just want to let the board know, Plum Tight, they finished up our cold bay side with the insulation spraying. I just was looking at our salt building and estimating some stuff. We used about 800 ton of salt so far this season, with the next round starting tonight. Now fixing potholes. Right now I'm working on some projects with the county on our road projects, which we're going to have a meeting within the next couple of weeks. I have some numbers on some of these bigger projects, Pembroke, General Farm, that kind of stuff. Just want to let the board know that I'm actually going to start searching for a part-timer here shortly, where we can have them as soon as we can get them in here. The contract allows, and just want to let you know, everybody be ready to hold on to your hats. This is going to be a good one coming in tonight. We're supposed to have 40-mile-an-hour winds with it and everything else, so an inch of snow looks like a blizzard. So we're a guy down. I have a guy off sick right now, so we're you want to plow?
Oh, yeah. You know? Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
The biggest thing is what my plan is on this storm is we'll probably come out about 6, 7 o'clock tonight. We're going to salt everything because that's going to be the start of it. Then we're going to back off. We're going to get off the roads, let them be what they are, and probably be back at 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. So if anybody gets excited, you know it's coming, but I can't be out until midnight and then try to get the guys back at 4. We got to get, I know we haven't had a lot of snowstorms, but this is kind of what the plan is. Communicate with Roy and them, this is what we're gonna do. We'll stay out until about 8:39 and we back off, come back at 4 or 5 in the morning, so.
When you know they're gonna close school down because they have all kinds of days left.
Are they closing school down?
Well,
but I'm assuming
we're
they
on
have
that,
more days left.
we're on that cut line where it's 1 to 3 inches, but the problem is it's gonna be the 40-mile-an-hour winds. That, you can't, I hate to say we can't keep it off the roads.
Right.
We can do the best we can, but
Which will mess up
that's it.
blessing in the morning, so. Yeah.
So what time you guys gonna be in the morning plow?
Doing it all night.
I think I got the flu. I'll be off tomorrow too. But that concludes my report.
Dave, do you have an update on that pipe?
The pipe, James right now, Jim, however he wants to be called this week, but he's on vacation this week. We're gonna meet and talk about that. I talked to Mike Collins. The problem is emergency OPWC funds. We're really not in the ballpark for that because it's not a storm that caused the damage. If the roads start washing away because of a flooding, then you can get into the OPWC stuff. Mike Collins is actually going to talk to the city of Talmadge, the mayor and their road super, I don't know what they call him, the engineer over there too, because he's going to try to get them to pit half of it. So it may be a 50-50 split. The last one I talked to Jim before he left for vacation, he has a concern of us inserting the pipe like we discussed it before, because the problem is he's afraid we're going to cause flooding to the north. Because what's going to happen is we're going to end up cutting the pipe in half. So it's going to slow the flow, which, I hate to say it this way, it's actually going to cause us a problem with the Oakwood Estate allotment too. Because if this is flooding and not moving fast enough, they're going to flood, and it's going to take twice as long to get their water out then, because we got to wait for the creek to subside some before their water will start releasing. That's one of his concerns. He was going to get a hold of the pipe company too, and discuss with them with an insert, even though we route all the way around it. The pipe companies may not stand by the weight distribution of the pipe inside of another pipe. So it's one of them. It's we're still collecting information on it. We did get the 5-ton signs up on the road, which I hate to say it, I don't think it's really diverted to semi-drivers none, because they just come right out of Crystal Parkway. And here we come, because we even put it on Crystal Parkway. We put it on everything for it's there. That's going to be kind of what we're going to discuss too here within the next few weeks, the county, about that and our road projects and that kind of stuff. So.
Does that road falls inside the Kent or the Talmadge Jet?
Talmadge Jet, yes.
John, would that be considered maintenance and fall
Sure.
under the maintenance improvement fund?
Sure.
Because I hate to slow down our road projects that we had kind of discussed initially, because we have to eat this $250,000.
That's definitely a qualified event, because if the road collapses over there and we can't get any traffic through, then screws up our jet.
And I know that that's a piece that we've talked about is how do we utilize those dollars to the best? Right. Is this an opportunity potentially if we can't get
How much you got in that fund? Yes, sir.
$3 million.
Well, I gave it all to the parks yesterday, so they got it all. $467,000 is what is in there, but we do have obligations for some of that money right now. There's probably at least $250,000 that's available. Not that I want to spend it all, but it's not accounted for. It's sitting there.
Right, and then we also have the jet contributions that'll happen this year.
But yes, that is a qualified.
I'm just looking for opportunities, because I don't want to slow down some of these bigger road projects that we had discussed, because I'd like to see us.
Well, with the road crew department in regards to M&I, they can pretty much get anything they want. Okay. It's police, fire, admin that have to fit within the scale, but they can pretty much get anything they want. And if
we can even fund part of it potentially out of M&I.
But we definitely want to encourage Talmadge to contribute.
Right. We would like, because that's making money for them in Crystal Parkway. That's going to shut down their whole.
Right. Well, and that's where Mike Collins says he has a good rapport with them. He's going to talk to the mayor and the road, and he says he's pretty sure he can get them to pitch in. Okay. Because I hate to say it this way, I think the 20-foot piece is actually considered theirs. It's in their line of the jets.
Okay, just a quick question. If it gets to be a safety hazard, are you able to block off that road?
I'll shut the road down, yeah. What I'll have to do is...
so that the trucks can't exit?
Right. Well, no, it'd actually be, we're actually discussing even right now the point of the whole road might be shut down right there, even for car access, if the pipe gets any worse. that's why we're kind of working on this pretty quickly.
Right.
Because we don't want to wait until we do quote unquote have a failure or something happens. If the pipe look, like Jimmy, I mean, like he said, not to quote him, but it could last another year. You know, just all depend, but by his aspects of looking at something like that, he doesn't want to tell me to wait.
But I mean, if it's an issue now, can you close that exit and entrance to that parkway?
I can close.
You'd have to close Howell Road.
I'd have to close Howell Road.
Which
I can't close Crystal Parkway, but I can close.
Well, that's Talmadge.
Right.
Well, but Howell Road right there would be us. They would
Right,
be shut.
right.
Well, and the thing is, then everybody be diverted through Portage, Crystal Parkway. You know, all of a sudden now everybody uses Howell Road to be going, kind of like what they did when they did the sewer project across there for a couple of
And also, just to add on to this, remember a couple of years ago how much Talmadge was begging us to be involved and help? Can we do something for you? Blah blah blah. This is the perfect time for them to say, you know what? All that money you collected from the JED, why don't you give some of it back and help us with this huge road project?
Oh yeah, I'm just looking for opportunities though, because we do need to move on. I don't want to see it fail.
So with you being in the Talmadge JED, the JED board, I mean, this is something,
Suez.
or Suez, yeah, this is something you'd have to make sure they understand, because, you know, they always wonder what we're doing with the money.
Right.
Well, it's an eligible expense.
Right, right.
Well, I mean, I like the nice thing is we have a person, kind of like Mike Collins, is an engineer. He has a real good rapport with these guys. So it's not like, you know, we're sending somebody over. Say, like, if I walked in their meeting and said, hey, you just need to give me $125,000.
Well, what did you think it was going to cost to fix the whole
They
thing?
they said to do it the right way with box culverts and everything. What we should do with head walls, it's about $225,000 to $250,000 is what it would cost.
I mean, it's,
If we want to go dig a hole and slap some pipe in there, you know, it might be half the cost, but you may be in the same issue with the
it'd
semis,
be
you know,
nice if
years
we
from
could,
now.
you know, help this Oakwood Estates too. You know,
Right. Well, the biggest, because we don't want to cut the water back in. We want it to move as fast as possible out of that cred, or it can open up Oakwood.
Can it be bigger? The pipe, so
Well,
that
and that's where the box cover will be. It would move a lot more water.
But if it was bigger, would it help?
Well, the thing,
Lorraine and all those guys back there?
Then you'll flood out
Oakwood
across
Estate.
the street.
No, I just didn't know where it's flooded. If it's flooding somebody's field in the back, but not somebody's house.
Right.
well, the problem is we back up the creek. The creek needs cleaned out through there, but there's nothing I can do about it because it's all private property. It'll help a little bit. It'll move the water quicker. Say we put the box culverts in, the water moves out of the stream faster. Because that has such a head wall of water moving that the water is coming out of the Oakwood Estates. It's not moving that fast. So it's actually keeping the water in the pipe. It can't merge out with the rest of the water until it starts slowing down, and then the water moves on there. So say we put these box culverts in, which it would move the water out of the creek real fast, and then the water there can escape quicker. If we go with a small, I mean, the problem is with the pipe, we can't really go with a bigger pipe unless we'd have to special order it because of it's got to be like an oval pipe instead of a round pipe. That's why it's 59 by 81. It's 59 inches high, 81 inches wide. So if you know what I mean, you turn around and try to cut it back to a round pipe, well, that's going to slow it down 9 kgs. Plus, I don't have that much room on depth-wise with the road to go with a higher, bigger round.
Yeah, I mean, don't be bashful if you have to close that road. I don't want somebody.
Well, I mean, we're keeping an eye on. It's actually the worst part of the pipe would be the eastbound lane, the side that's closer to Crystal Parkway. Say the westbound lane is actually, well, the north side of the road is actually not as bad as the south side. So it could become a partial closing if we have to, you know, where it's just traffic can go, you know, head toward Talmadge, but they just can't come back through the other.
But now we have double the traffic on that other side of the road, and it's going to fail real quick.
So,
But yeah, you are monitoring it all the time. Yeah.
yeah, I go down there every couple of days, make sure there ain't like asphalt slippage, you know, where it's starting to develop a hole. Like I haven't climbed up in the pipe yet, but that's
I'd
coming.
be afraid to climb up
soon.
in that.
Well, when me and Jim's gonna look at it when he gets back. We're gonna go up inside it and look at it again to see.
Close the road temporarily.
There you go. You'll be all right. I'll just push Jim over. But that's where we're at with that right now. I mean, we're still working on all kinds of different avenues with it.
All right, thank you for that update. Parks and Rec.
All right, just a few upcoming programs. On Wednesday, March 4th, we're going to have a community center open house, so 5:30 to 7:30. So anybody that wants to come and view the center, they can. I didn't have this on the agenda originally. I forgot to add it, so I don't know if you have to add it to the minutes or anything. But on March 14th, we're going to have the Bird Club launch in combination with the Portage Park District. So I'm excited about that. From 8 to 10, we're going to go out and learn about birds and birds, so that'll be fun. And then on March 26th, I'm going to do the amphibian walk that I did last year that was very successful, so I'm looking forward to doing that again. We got the report back for the lion shelter in the outbuilding at the community center that Charles did the inspection for on the 11th. Basically, his report said that both structures are at the point where trying to repair them would be more costly than just tearing them down and building a new structure. So, did you get a copy of those reports?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I don't know if you wanted to make a determination about those now, or.
Did you have any fear? I didn't read the whole letter of it collapsing at all in any parts.
Not. Just that they're really not structurally sound. I don't think they are actively collapsing, but it's,
Well, but he does say in here, and this is the concern that we may need to move faster. Please also be advised that based on the physical condition of this structure as it exists today, the township may be subject to potential lawsuits. Types of lawsuits including but not limited to personal injury and federal civil rights lawsuits pursuant to the American Disabilities Act, since the building is not 100% handicap accessible.
Yeah.
Do we need to have a building permit or a tear down permit
Yes.
if our bulldozer just came and knocked it down?
So asbestos, is that an
Yes.
issue? So even though it's a
So we
barn,
need
they have to check
EPA
it?
to inspect first, get their approval that there's no asbestos in the building, and then get the permit from if I'm understanding that correctly. Yeah, get the permit from the
So
county.
is that a hard project, or is that?
So, I mean, we'd issue a zoning certificate for demo, obviously it's government, and then I would hope that the county would do the same thing back, since it's government to government.
So that would be our permit, and then would we be
Then
allowed
we
to
have to
take
go
our
through the-
bulldozer and just push it
Then
down?
we have the EPA is to come inspect.
Yeah, you still have to have asbestos.
We can.
Is your bird living in there?
You can demo it?
Oh, no. So we boarded it
Oh, I
up
didn't know
to
you
make
mean
sure
like
that
a
the
fire
turkey vulture
control
wouldn't come back, so.
Well, I guess
Do what? I'm sorry.
I just wondered if you could do a controlled burn on it for a fire exercise.
The outbuilding is too close to the power lines. There are power lines go.
There's so many rules now, they don't allow us
Well-
to do much.
Well, you'd have to check with Edison.
That was
If you
his
could do-
concern, so.
So both buildings were pretty much the same.
Right.
Well, that one's in the woods too, which would probably
Right.
catch some of the trees on fire, which we don't want to do that.
The problem is, the real problem is, when you get a house burned, you gotta take the shingles off, you gotta remove the windows, and you gotta get all these permits. By the time you do all that, they're done left. It's not worth burning anymore. So, they're all over.
Okay, so that's only the burn. So if it's a demolition,
Right, we
the
can do
shingles
that
stay on
ourselves.
and everything.
Yeah, if everything passes.
So for the one down at the Edson Road Park, that shelter, I mean, I haven't read the whole letter, I mean, but that is needs torn down also.
He was making a statement on that one didn't have to be tore down as fast as you would want at the community center. He just wouldn't let rentals and stuff like that be used
Right,
in
right.
it anymore. It's just,
We've definitely taken care of that. But just so we do this in order, Nick, I'm gonna make a motion that we start the initiation of the demolition for the barn behind the community center. So we'll do them one at a time,
Okay, and I will second that for discussion.
just so we go through the right channels to get
For
it done right.
discussion, would you want to add their further recommendation of the research from this?
From Charles Corcoran.
I would just call it Oak Group.
Oak
That's
Group?
the group.
Yeah. Or Oak Group Incorporated.
That way they won't say, we look back and say, well, we just sit here and talked about it ourselves.
Right, yeah, that's a good point.
Did it with no backup.
Good point. I mean, I read about that electrical system, and by the time you put a whole new system in there, it's ridiculous.
Right.
Forget the whole thing.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor for the demolition of the community center lawn. All in favor?
Make sure you have the word barn in
Yes,
at the
please.
community center.
Whoops.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, so now, I'll make a motion that I'm gonna make it in the positive, that we go ahead and, go through the steps to demolish the former Lions Club, what do we call it?
Lion shelter.
Lion shelter.
House.
Due to advice from the Oak Group.
I will second that motion.
For
Further
discussion.
discussion.
For discussion, it's on a concrete pad. Is that concrete in good enough shape that you could use it for like a shuffle thing or anything like that?
It's in very poor condition.
Oh, well then,
It's,
terrible.
there's
So
a
that's what-
large crack in it, and one side's here and one side's
There's
here.
tree roots growing up underneath.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the initial concern that we had, was the tripping
People
hazards.
tripping.
There's no.
Yeah.
That was just-
Did he
The
say?
only concern I have on this one is there any deed restrictions that we're gonna have to rebuild that there? Because it was the Lions Park. There's always been some discussions about what we can and can't do in that park. Do we need to do that deed search real quick like we did on the other
We
property?
could, it was.
Just to do our due
It's
diligence.
very cheap.
I mean, I think it's $100, and the title agency will do a deed search, just to make sure if we demo it, what's the next step we have to do based on
And
on
what
those
we're gonna
properties.
probably find out is that there's probably no building permits or anything for that.
Well, if we find there's no deed restrictions, then that also allows Dave to do whatever he wants in the future for
Right.
road
That's
department
good.
expansions.
So we have to make a separate motion on that.
Yeah.
Well, in discussion too,
So we'll do that after
do
this.
we need to send a letter to the Lions Club and let them know that it's coming down? Based on the recommendations here, do we need to notify them of anything to keep all those people happy?
It might be a good action, just because they're gonna hear about it, or if
Yeah.
Cassie, if you wanna reach out to them,
Yeah.
you can supply them a copy of this report.
Now, while we're talking about this, did Charles say anything about that Dave could use it to store equipment and stuff? Or was that?
Well, we can keep using it for equipment storage, but he said he wouldn't recommend it over a couple more, maybe one more winter.
Oh, okay.
I really wouldn't want to put equipment in there. What happens if they hit the side of it with the mower and then the whole roof collapses?
Okay.
And people are still around the outside of it too. I think it's time for it just to go.
Okay.
Well, we just use it for winter storage.
Right.
But
So
the
that's
thing
good.
is, I mean, I hate
So what
to
do
say
you
it this
do
way,
for
if I don't have another building up for winter storage next year, or this year, whatever, then I might be hurting to try to find places for motors and stuff. Cause that's what we store in there in the winter, is just all the motors out of the way.
Okay.
So we'll find some storage or something for Dave.
Do you store anything back there in the back of the cemetery?
Cemetery, I got it packed full too.
Okay, I just.
Yeah, everything's
Room and
packed, I
mowers.
just don't have nowhere else to go.
Hey, it's mine, too much equipment.
Yeah, I know. Get rid of some of your equipment.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor to demo the Lions shelter. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, Nick. I'm not in control now.
I'm concerned about Dave needing it for the mowers. Until we can get something put back there and keep that equipment out of the bad weather.
Well,
It's
we're not
also
gonna,
public
well,
safety.
we're not gonna do it right away.
Yeah, that building won't be right. The other one's the one he was really
This is
pushing
just-
to get.
This is gonna get us
the
through the
one with
winter
the-
season.
okay.
Just starting the process.
All right, then, go ahead, yeah.
Okay, so we have
I will
three
guess.
yeses. I'd like to make a motion then to do a deed search on the
We have
Lions.
some on the agenda. So,
Do we need to run the agenda for that one?
that wasn't on there for D search. Let's just do it, right?
Well, but it's all part of the process.
It's all
It's
part of
part of
this,
the process.
all part of this.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to have a deed search completed on the Lions Park to identify any restrictions.
I'll second that.
Ray, can you handle that area back there?
Yeah, can I ask a question on that?
Yeah.
So just for the process for Cassie and myself, deed search, zoning department next, then EPA?
So after you do your deed search, you come to, so you'd be doing, once that happens, come to zone certificate, and then you go through your EPA stuff as far as asbestos.
But yes,
I mean,
We do it for the whole park.
yeah,
So we
and the
just
county
need
has
to-
a whole list that I could forward on, that they're gonna need.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Alright,
And then next item, you had asked me to put out a call for grant submissions for the NOPEC Community Event Grant. that has previously been given to the Kelso House for the last 2 years. We received 3 submissions total. The first was for the Brimfield Chamber for Brimfest. The second was from the Kelso House for another movie night. And the third was from Portage Park District for a Kent Bog expansion, which is the property on Howe Road. They wanted to do an open house with guided hikes and activities. So I sent you all the submissions. I don't know if you had time to look over those, or if you needed more time to look over them before making a decision.
Which one are you leaning to?
Personally, between the Kelso House and Portage Park District, my only concern with Brimfest is that it doesn't really meet the NOPEC requirements of a free community event.
Just a booth.
Right.
Yeah,
there are free activities there, but a lot of it is, paying for rides and things like that. And the idea behind the event is to provide a totally free event that anyone can attend.
So if they did the parks, they would have their employees there for the new park, because I mean there is a lot of excitement about that new park.
Yeah. So they wanted to hire a couple of the ideas they pitched to me is having a speaker talk on some different nature subjects, explaining the habitat, some future plans for the area, guided hikes, concessions, that kind of thing.
But you'd be working with them on that too, right? A little bit, or?
I mean, they're my friends, so I'd help them out, but it's really their project. So.
Okay.
Well, I think, do we want to have her just kind of review them and make a final recommendation just next meeting?
Okay.
Yeah.
I like both submissions, so.
Okay.
All right, anything else?
Nope, that's it.
How are the rentals going?
Very good.
Are they?
Yep.
Have you heard any pushback on this, that lion shelter not being open? Anyone giving you a hard time?
I've had 2 or 3 people call and ask if they could make a reservation for, the Boy Scouts use it a lot. The Young at Heart wanted to have their luncheon there, and I just said, oh, sorry, we're no longer renting it out, and I explained why, and they said, okay. So, not really pushback, just
No,
a couple
especially with
questions.
having such a beautiful community center now.
Right, and that's the other opportunity that I offer people, so.
And the Boy Scouts, they just want to spend the night in there?
Yeah, they've spent the night there a few times. They have their Halloween party there every year, so it's just moving them to a new venue.
Chrissy's.
I guess they had a great time camping down there in Cranberry Creek.
Oh, they did? Yeah.
They loved it back there.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Boy Scouts shouldn't be in the house. Bring their pup tents and go camping. Okay, thank you.
That moves into cemetery. We have no action under cemetery today. Fiscal office, any action, Joe?
No action, but I just have a couple comments. The reports that I gave you guys was our 2020 budget. That's going to be submitted to finalize with Portage County, just to kind of give you an estimate of what, well, not an estimate, well, it is an estimate. These are all estimates. Very, very good guess estimate. The appropriations we're almost finished with for everybody. Just to mention with the PD, we're waiting for Chris to kind of come back and give us some input. We're going to finalize that next week.
Okay.
And then Dave just is waiting for Pembroke dollar amounts to come back to finalize his. The parks, the IT, zoning, fire, admin, appropriations are all done. So by next meeting, you'll have all the appropriations and we'll be done. But we have a estimated $9,479,182.07 budget for 2000.
What kind of increase was that over?
It's a lot, actually. We were probably in the low 8s last year, so it's a big chunk.
What was
Big increase.
What was the big increase on all of this?
Just a lot. We had a fire levy that passed. Our JED dollars have gone up. I mean, it's just a combination of a lot of that stuff. Our other resources have gone up. We've had more zoning permits than we've had in the past, so a lot of those things all build into it.
Fine trustee management?
That's right. That was the number one reason behind it. But if you look on the report, this just breaks it down. And if you guys have any other questions, I don't want to read all this. Just feel free to ask me, and we'll go from there.
And we're, compared to what some of those other townships get in the state of Ohio, we're still little small peas.
Right. Yeah, there's some townships that are much, much larger.
Yeah, but in Portage County, we're kind of starting to dwarf everybody when it comes to the townships.
Limited home rule.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, that's all I had.
Just an
We have an executive session. Before we do that, though, because I know some people don't like to stick around until we're done. You're more than welcome to stick around until after executive session. But I'll give you the opportunity for you to go to the order of Brimfield. Any additional public comments?
Well, I would like to know, when is our next work session?
I need to pull that document. I don't have it, but I will send out an email on that.
Two things. Seems to recall in the conversations about recycling that EPA does not require recycling, but it requires it to be available. Is that what I heard?
Correct. The EPA says that you need to provide, and it's not to the township, it's to the county. The county has to not 90% access. It's kind of the goal that was set for Portage. Access is not having it picked up. Access is access.
Availability.
Yes.
Okay. Second thing is I agree with the comments about the agenda. I don't pick one of those up because it says the same thing every other week.
Right. Okay. No, we appreciate the feedback. Other comments? Questions, concerns? Okay.
All right, then we're gonna need to make a motion to adjourn to executive session for disciplinary action of a township employee.
So I'll make that motion.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.